Hello, and welcome to Conqueror Ace Games. In this game, I'll be showing you a somewhat unusual battle involving the Tier 9 British heavy tank, the Conqueror. The Conqueror has an accurate and high penetration gun, which makes it very suitable for long-range sniping. But in this game, we're going to show you how it can be effective at brawling as well. The map we're playing on is El Halouf, which was changed recently to include a dense brawling area in the northwest. And since the map changed, this is where most combat has taken place. Therefore, it's important to get there as early as possible, since you want to do as much damage as possible to the enemy team for as long as possible, and that's where the most targets are sure to end up. As in every game, I'm balancing two competing truisms. Damage early is better than damage late, but you need to conserve your hit point pool until the late game. So I'm trying to use not just my tank's hit point pool as a resource, but every other tank's as well. And I see this Pershing up ahead has poked himself way out. And so with the briefest of moments to check to make sure that I'm not exposing myself to flanking fire, I come right out. And I'm racing to try to share some damage with this poor Pershing from this Lorraine over here. He gets a little too far out. I'm able to track him, and the guys with me take him out without any difficulty. With the immediate threat out of the way, I find myself at the game's first real decision point. Do I cross over into the northwest? Now that can often be a trap, and you can see that there's a T-54 over there, and he can crest that hill and get shots all the way into the back of these tanks that are now crossing into the northwest. And so I decide to stay back and try to get some free damage off on these tanks. There's a nice little V-notch right here that you can get shots in without exposing too much of your tank, just your turret. Vision can be a little bit of a problem. You'll see these tanks appearing out of nowhere. And I just get a couple of shots in, some bounces, some free damage. And I see tanks are still crossing. That Wheezy is getting pretty lucky. He's bounced and missed two of my shots so far. We have tanks in the northwest on top of that rock, and then coming around to the south, and that's quite a dangerous position to take. But I see that virtually all of the enemy tanks are pressed up against the one line, trying to rotate clockwise out. And meanwhile, there's two Tier 9 medium tanks who can get really good flanking shots on all my dudes. And so I decide to get right into the fight and push these guys back down behind the hill. So at this point, even though I'm right under the open, I know that T-54 also has to come right out in the open to get shots at me as well. I'm a little more concerned about shots to my front, that is from the west, since there may still be tanks out around the back. Now with these tanks fully hauled down behind the hill, I feel that it's safe for me to come right out. And even though I am looking right, I got eyes in the back of my head, and I'm watching the mini-map really, really carefully, trying to get shots out. And I'm playing straight corner games on the right-hand side, but making sure that these tanks on the left don't get shots into my back and side. By zooming out between shots and keeping a close eye on the mini-map, I know when it's safe for me to poke without taking shots into the back of my turret. At the same time, I'm able to get some nice shots in the backs of tanks that are focused on targets to their front. I'm also trying my level best to keep tanks tracked, just in case there's somebody behind me who can get subsequent shots in. But I'm not that concerned about that at this point. I'm more concerned with preserving my own hit point pool, rocking back and forth right at the edge of cover. I'm trying to clean up tanks when I possibly can. If I have a choice between a one-shot tank and a two-shot tank, I'm taking the two shots. We're constantly down tanks in this fight, but I can see that if I can just keep the pressure on, look at all these one-shot tanks just waiting to die. I can also see that there's tanks right behind me at this point. That those two Tier 9 medium tanks are just aching to get at me. And so I start poking a little more aggressively, and at this point I'm trading hit points. All these tanks are one-shots. I'm going to take at least 4 hits before I go down, but if I don't get these tanks clear fast and get under cover from those medium tanks, they're going to get me before I can finish these tanks off. I decide to rush forward, take out this T-34, and then circle around behind these tanks. I can get this low, I finish him off as well, and all of a sudden we're up tanks instead of down tanks. And when I spin to face this T-54, that's when I realize this is not a good spot. This is not a hull down position behind these tanks. This T-54 is so high up and gets shots on me all day. It comes down to one more shot. He bounces off me, takes out my optics. I kill him with a shot right through his vision port. And with him and the WZ go the last big threats to our success in this game. There's still a small chance that the remaining tanks are going to pick things up, but finally we get down to one last remaining Ag Tiger. A teammate calls out his position and direction, and so I just decide to play it safe, wait till the T-32 gets a flanking position in, and then decide to go at the same time. He comes after me. I wait till I get a shot on his lower plate. Hit him in the upper plate, but kill him anyway. Alright, let's look at the scoreboard to see how I did. Got some spots in there, got some damage, got some kills of course. 6,700 XP, which is pretty nice, but there's a couple of stacked bonuses in there, so it's not quite as impressive as it might look. I got a reasonable number of penetrating hits, 14 out of 17, for nearly 5,000 damage, which is quite good for me, and we even made a profit. So there you go. That's how you get an ace game brawling in El Haluf in a snipey tank. If you like what you're watching, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Tolerated Kill Panic, and share it with your tanking buddies. Until next time, see you in the pubbies.